down.
You gotta mute Zoom. I mean the YouTube. You gotta mute the YouTube channel so we don't get feedback once it opens.
Mm-hmm. Get this started too. Once you sit down,
you gotta.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Perspectives of Black Men. This is a audio and visual experience where we highlight trending topics all through a Black lens. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Dr. Kellen Scantlebury, and I'm joined to you today by
Coach Smith.
We're joined on Zoom by
Dr. Aaron Johnson.
And we have two special guests that are going to be highlighting the topic of investing tonight. To my left is
Irvin John.
And to his left,
Charles McCann.
So Irvin is a close friend of mine. Met Irvin about 2 years ago here in the city, and our energy just really vibed right off the jump. And then Charles has been a guest with us on the show before, and we really wanted to bring them in to spread some wealth and knowledge about the topic of investing today. So Irvin, you're new to our guests. Do you mind just introducing yourself, please?
Absolutely. And I'm going to introduce myself like I do on YouTube, Irvin Felix John with the Fitness Journals, where I provide entertainment, education, and authenticity to the calisthenics game. So I am a calisthenics YouTuber, among many other things, but that's really what I note myself as currently, as well as a business person. But you know, that's mainly what I do. I'm a calisthenics YouTuber.
Yeah, so if you are on YouTube and you're watching this platform, definitely look out the Fitness Journals. Irvin can do some crazy things with just his body weight. The American, not the American flag, but
the human
flag, which is pretty awesome to be able to put your body fully extended horizontal. Yes, dude is strong.
You see Dr. Johnson's face when you started talking about the American flag?
He's like,
well, you want to have a conversation about the American flag? Let's go.
We won't. Please. We can't get started on that. And then Charles, please.
You're going to ruin the whole show. I was going to say, he does what with the what flag? Yeah. I felt back, though.
As well to the folks at home.
Yes, my name is Charles McCann. I'm a Queens native. I now work in the financial industry. Similar to every gentleman on this call, just here to spread knowledge. And I feel education is power. The more we know, the sooner we know it, the better off we'll be.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So tonight's topic is all about investing. So the first aspect of tonight is investing time. Like, how do we invest our time? The pandemic has given us all a little bit of time. And what we want to do is really go through how we've been using that time. So Irvin, if you could just highlight some of the things that you've done throughout the pandemic and how are you spending and investing your time currently?
Yeah. So number one, time, right? A lot of you hear people make the excuse, oh, I don't have time. Even when they do have the time, I think it always comes down to the energy. And there is a quote that says, energy, not time, is the fundamental value of high performance, right? Mm. So a lot of people have the time if they make the time. Me personally, before this whole COVID thing, I had a good amount of time, but it's really where I was allocating my energy. That was the difference. COVID it forced me to have to shift my energy into a lane that I need to make results happen very quickly. Like, I don't have time to, okay, maybe this will work, maybe this won't work. The energy I had to put in a lot of energy to specifically, like I took up investing in the stock market at the beginning of this. I knew nothing about investing whatsoever. I didn't know anything. I bought courses, I watched YouTube videos, I read books. The most recent book that I've been reading, I've read this book a couple of times. It's called Fooled by Randomness. Anyone heard of that book before?
Fooled by Randomness.
Okay. Incredible book. Really highlights the mindset that it takes to invest. You know, because a lot of it is not really about like just the technical analysis and fundamentals. It's about the emotional side. Because when I was doing options trading, I had no idea what I was doing. I had I just heard people, oh, option, you can make $1,000 in a day. And I'm like, oh, really? Let me throw my money in there. Lost everything, so that kind of, that was like I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you're trying to level up, right? You're trying to level up. Of course, you got to make mistakes to level up. The COVID, the whole pandemic, being locked indoors, I'm like, nah, look, I'm going to take the time to actually get it right. That's the thing. Sometimes it's worse doing nothing at all than making the wrong move, because you don't know. You're like, maybe this will work, maybe it won't work. Just try it. And that's what it came down to. During the COVID, well, we're still here, but we're at the peak of everything. I was just trying everything. I'm like, let me try and get it wrong, be very aware about what I'm doing, and fine tune it until I get it right. And needless to say, it's not really, like I said, it's not really just about the time. It's knowing when do I have the energy to do that, and really focusing and honing in on those something very specific, like investing my time and money into things that I know will have a long-term outcome even after this whole COVID thing is over. So that's really, and I'm still doing that up to today, and I'm seeing the results. I'm very, happy to see, like, man, all you had to do was begin. That's what it came down to. Begin and keep going.
So it sounds like it came down to your mindset.
Always mindset.
If you invest in the proper energy, in return, what you're going to get is a great outcome.
Absolutely.
So, and it's because of,
well, not, I wouldn't say every time is going to be a great outcome. It's like you really don't know.
You need the experience.
Yeah. And like asymmetrical outcomes. That's like sometimes you look at it, you're like, if I do this, what are the odds of it going very, very wrong? Is it worth doing it? Is the upside, okay, if I get the upside, I'll get $10 million. The downside is I lose $1 billion, something like that. He's like, I don't think that's a good idea. But on the other side, like, if you're like, okay, if I take this chance, I'll lose $1,000. The upside, I can make unlimited money. I think I'll go with that one. So it's really waiting. The only way you're going to know that is, number one, is educating yourself. You have to know what you're getting into, no matter what it is, not just investing, whether you're going into a new business, you have to know what you're getting into. You can't just jump in. And like I said, it's not always going to be a great outcome right off the bat, but that's okay. As long as you know and you're aware, okay, I'm here to learn. I'm here to leverage my failures to help me level up. It's not a problem, but you have to know that. Yeah.
And then Charles, I'm going to ask you the same question. Throughout the pandemic, investing, we're talking about, when people hear investing, they automatically think money. We're talking about time, right? Right off the bat. Like, how have you invested your time?
First, to Irv's point, right? I hear from everybody, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. At the end of the day, it's about what we want that we make time for. I certainly used to play Call of Duty a lot, right? Less time for that because I'm now focused on other things. So we all have the same time in a day. It's about how we allocate that time. And what I've decided to do, I've made changes in my life that, similar to Irv mentioned, right? There's risk involved. And that was something as simple as a career change. I invested that time and realized, all right, you know what? I'm going into business for myself, and I really have no other choice but to make this work. So I started reallocating how I'm spending my time and making sure that I'm doing things with every second of the day to prepare myself for the future. So it's one of those things, as being a business owner or owning your own practice, it's definitely tough in the beginning, but you got to make sure that you're putting in the time, because at the end of the day, you're going to reap the benefits from the time that you put in. So if I want to see those benefits in 2 years, 5 years, well, I got to log in at time. It's same thing with all sports guys here. I wasn't a premier athlete to say until I was almost my junior year of high school. A lot of time went into that work before that. So it's no different with anything that we decide to do in life. It's allocating your time so you can get to the results that you want.
And Dr. Johnson, talk to us from home, please. I know you've had some more time on your hands as well.
I think once we were told to go home and stay home, I really kind of wanted to create a sense of normalcy for my children. And so, my wife and I, we cook. That's just what we do. I've been cooking since I was 8 years old. And what I did was I started to learn new recipes and really try to give my kids things that they liked. You know, they love the different kinds of pastries I started making, or I grilled like every day. Every other day I was on the grill. And I just try to give them a sense of normalcy and try to protect them from the crazy that we were in. It was just kind of like, let me just spend some more time that I normally don't have during the week, you know, with them. I of course, I get the weekends as an educator. I get the holidays. I get the summers. So, you know, I'm probably the most critical of myself about fatherhood, about what I could have done better or what I could do better. And my wife always gets on me for being that way. But that's just me. You know, I didn't have a dad, so I don't have a manual. So when this time hit, you know, when we were coming home, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna make them this banana bread, and I'm gonna make them this Nigerian jollof rice or Jamaican rice and peas and
Still
all
waiting
this stuff.
Dude, I'm waiting for that jollof rice, bro.
I'm gonna do the next time I'm coming into the studio. I'm going to that Wednesday, or when we have our media day. Then you got to just type it in, remind me, and then I'm gonna make it that night, and then I'll bring it in. But I learned
Watching. I like this. I like this.
It's easy now too. It was harder when I first started making it. But now it's like I wanted to extend myself to them, where I felt that they were missing certain things, even though they got me for the whole summer. They got me for weekends and stuff like that. I feel so bad. I just like being with them, and that's just me. And so that's what I did. I made it quality, but I wanted to, you know, figure out the quality of time that I was going to be, you know, spending with them. Not just the time, but like, let's watch a movie together. Let's do this. My wife, we would, you know, watch Disney Plus, and she would make snacks like movie theater. So we all had like the nachos and the cheese, and then she had like Twizzlers and another thing. And like, so we had like a spread, and everybody had their own tray, and then we're turning on a movie, blackening out the whole rest of the house. And it was just kind of giving them an experience that, you know what, this is a different day. We're in a different situation. However, you can still have fun. You could still have a sense of normalcy. And so I thought that was important to me. Time is important for me in general, period, because we're only here but a small period of time. Mm-hmm. And I always have the question, everything that I do, I'm like, what have I done? You know, everything that I'm doing and professionally, everything that I'm doing, you know, personally, the question becomes, what quality was that? Who did I help? Who did I inspire? What did I give? Right? I'm writing curriculum. Nobody asked me to write curriculum, but I'm writing social justice, racial justice curriculum. And when that's done, I'll be able to present it to the state officials that I know. You know what I mean? And maybe one day you'll hear that this is being mandated in New York State. And you're like, you know, Johnson probably had a little bit to do with that. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm thinking about quality and what I offer the world around me. I don't want to close my eyes for the final time and somebody says, you know, they don't have anything to say about what I did. I want people to be like, yo, he really hustled hard for not just himself and not just his family, but his community that he loves.
Mm. So, yeah, and you're talking about time turning into legacy, which is great.
Right.
I love that. Divine, talk to us about, you know, how you invested your time throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same sentiments that the gentlemen before me have with their perspective and what they've been doing during COVID, and especially, you know, some of the things that Dr. Johnson mentioned about his family and spending the right type of quality time with them, you know. So, you know, me and my daughter, both of my daughters, we've been able to spend a lot more time together. You know, I built a playhouse for my 4-year-old in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember her standing on the top step saying, I'm the queen of the house. I'm the queen of the house. So like, you know, that's everything for me. So that's a great investment of my time, what I do with my family. I invest my time in my community as a basketball coach or as a mentor to young people. And I invest my time with great people, like the men on this Perspectives of Black Men and Aaron on Zoom. You know, I think that there's tremendous value in what we bring to the table from a maturity standpoint. So we could all learn from each other in a time investment type of a way. So,
and before you go, Kellen, Dr. Scannabell, I just want to kind of answer that just for a couple of seconds. when I started kind of hanging with you guys, that cultural diffusion happens, right? That I gain from you, not because I was looking to gain from you, but because I was in your presence, right? So when you talk about being accountable for the different things that you want, accountability partners, I've been thinking about that for the last few days, few months, few weeks about, Aaron, you got to do better with what you're doing, not being down on myself, but holding myself accountable to the things that I want. So that's also important. The things that we're not looking to do. We set out to have quality time during this time period, but when we do have this quality time with different quality people, we get these things that we weren't necessarily expecting, that opens our eyes to different avenues for ourselves. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, I agree. And, just to echo what everyone said, spending time with their kids. I have twins at home that just turned 2 years old. And as a business owner, and, my practice is very demanding of my time, I would have never been able to spend as much time with my kids at home as I was able to, and with my wife. So I was able to connect with my wife on a new level. I was able to connect with my kids on a new level. I was able to connect with you gentlemen, Charles, Divine, Irvin. We've had multiple conversations throughout the pandemic. Meeting Dr. Johnson, that was on the study group, right? So one of the things that we developed during this time was the study group. And basically that's a group of about 65 young men. And we just share with each other like what we're doing in life and where we're trying to go and our goals. And Divine, Charles, and Dr. Johnson have all been on that study group, and we've been able to like spread an immense amount of knowledge in a very short time using the technology that we have. Time is, relatively more significant than money, right? Like you said, Dr. Johnson, we only have a finite time here, right? So it's really like, how do we wanted to open up this conversation tonight, talking about what we thought was our most important asset, which is our time, right?
Yep.
Like where you spend your time and energy, coupled with energy, can produce massive results in our life. So I think that
Or in
was
other
something.
people's lives.
Oh
Or in
yeah,
other people's lives.
that's ultimately what it always comes down to for people who see the bigger picture.
And you can have
Somebody who sees the bigger picture, they're like, I'm gonna be gone, and that's a fact. Just like you said, like one day I'm gonna die. It could be tomorrow, it could be tonight. And it's like, if you're not thinking with that urgency of, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Or if you're thinking, I don't know what's going to happen when I leave here, you're not taking what you're doing seriously. You should have like enough confidence to know people are seeing what I'm doing, and they're going to they're so devoted to seeing what the mission is. They're going to do what they have to do to carry that on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to add right to the fact of how you spend your time is so important, because it's a fine balance, right? I'm guilty of working so hard that I don't enjoy. I don't have that quality time with quality people around me. It's a balance. The funny thing, I've been with my girlfriend since my senior high school, but these last 2 years are probably like the only time we like lived with each other on our own. And when the pandemic happened, it made us realize like we can really do this. Like there was less arguing, although once that lockdown happened and we were just in each other's face all day in a 1-bedroom apartment, there were no issues. If anything, we had more issues while we worked, that the stresses of the outside world affecting our relationship, and now we're arguing.
Perspective.
It made me realize like, okay, I'm gonna work hard so we can get to this, so we can have this more often, but we gotta set a schedule. We got, all right, these are gonna be the days I work late. These are the days we're going to spend with each other. There's nothing wrong with setting that schedule and allocating time for quality time with quality people.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think, and let me just say, intentionality. Like, when we're talking to the people, the jewels that you got to grab from these conversations are super important. Intentional, like you said, put it on the calendar. Be intentional about the quality time that you're going to spend with the people that you want to spend it with. And secondly, as a part of our discussion, you can have all the money and resources in the world. If you have no time, they mean nothing. But if you have all the time in the world, you can acquire those resources and the money. So we got to really value what it is necessary and is important and significant to us.
And I think one last thing before we go on to like how or what specific investments outside of time that we made is, like you said, Charles, where you spend your time, that's what you get good at, right? So if you spend your time playing Call of Duty, guess what? you're going to be the best Call of Duty player in the world.
better
Like,
be.
is that your goal, right? Like, what's your goal, right? Do you want to be the best businessman? Then you probably should spend some time working on your business. Do you want to be the best basketball player, right? Kobe Bryant, shout out to the late, great Kobe Bryant. He said that he got better than everyone else in high school is because while they were partying, he was practicing. Right. So that Mamba mentality was developed in high school. Right. So where that 10,000 hours, putting your 10,000 hours in so you can master something. Right. That is very important for all the viewers out there. Like, we have time, especially now. Like, if you have goals, spend time focused and working on those goals. And like Irvin said, you're not gonna hit a grand slam every single time, but 80-20. If 80% of the time you have a positive outcome, 20% of the time you don't, I'll take that every day.
A lot of probability. Yep. That's it.
I'll take that every day. All right, so we're going to move on to our next segment here. Give me 1 second. So this is our segment. It's called the 35-second shot clock. So Irvin, this one is specifically for you today.
All right.
And basically what's going to happen is we're going to rapid fire questions at you. And the first thing that comes into your mind, I want you to answer. All right.
Let's do it.
All right. We got the timer set.
I'm having some technical difficulties.
Oh, sounds like the old man on the show with the technical difficulties.
Not the iPhone problems, right?
Can I just say that when you said we had 60, 65 young men on that Zoom call, I was going to say, and Divine. You got to make sure that you delineate. You got to make sure that you don't conflate the two things. Don't put them together. You say 60 young men and Divine Smith with the Deacon Street. That's what you have to do.
So, and while we're getting on Divine, if you guys want to watch something super funny, please go to Diverse Skill Training. What is it? Diverse_skill_ training on Instagram. If you're having a bad day, there's going to be a video there that will cheer you up in every single way. So thank Divine for spreading love and happiness to us all.
Okay, I'm going to be the boom today for the 35-second shot clock. That's how we're going to do this, all right?
Okay. All right, so ready to rock and roll, Irvin?
Yep, let's do it.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Jay-Z or Nas?
Nas.
All right, box braids on a girl or cornrows?
Box braids.
Okay, favorite sport?
Football.
If you could have a conversation with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be with?
Ooh, man, Nipsey
Hussle. Ooh, all right, so favorite music artist?
J. Cole. Yeah.
Okay, favorite show to watch on TV?
Top Boy.
Okay, what's your mantra or favorite quote?
It's just a warm up. It's just a warm up.
That was good. I think we might need to put your voice on this instead of the actual bomb. That was great.
What you think, Dr. Johnson? Did I do a good job?
Pretty good for an older fella. Yes, for an older gentleman.
I want you to explain your favorite quote because I know it. I'm familiar with it. But I want you to explain it to the people and the meaning behind it before we get into the next segment.
It's always the warm up. So a lot of the times, we're facing a challenge. We're going to face a challenge no matter what. Challenges are inevitable. If you try and avoid a challenge, you're eventually going to run into it. And with that in mind, it's like, hey, this challenge that I'm facing, if I can't get over this, I know there's another challenge I'm going to have to face. This challenge I'm going through is not the end all be all. This is just a warm up. This is preparing me for the next bigger challenge. And it's going to get more complex, more complicated. But if I view it as, I'm just warming up. This is not the game. This is the warm up. How am I tapping out before I even really get started? So, with that mentality, when you feel like you're burning out, you're like, oh, wait, no, this is a warm up. I got so much left in me to go. So much left. That's what it is. It's always a warm up.
Mm-hmm. Just get out there and do. I remember one time I was leaving this building and I was feeling real good about something, but I had a problem. And I called Irvin. I was like, dude, I was thinking about you today. And guess what I was thinking about?
It's just a warm up.
That's it. It's just a warm up, baby. We just getting started.
Facts.
Love it. All right. So we're going to go into our next segment here. And we're talking about investments that we actually made during the pandemic. So Charles, I want to just have you start this segment off as our financial analyst on the show today. Can you please just highlight, some investments that you might have made during the pandemic,
Mr.
or
Matt.
investments that you think people should be making during this time?
We call you
So-
Mr. Mass Mutual.
So to be very compliant with my job, right? No, it's all right. We could still talk about this. What I've invested in myself is my education. I've decided to go ahead and pursue different designations. I've decided to expand my knowledge so I can not only do a better job for those around me, I could eventually be able to train others to do the exact same job. That's how I'm going to make a bigger impact in the community, is by being able to teach others that want to be in the same industry, to allow them to go out and affect the ones that are closer to them. So what I've invested in personally that I can't speak about is my education. And to me, that's a big one. As far as what I believe people should be doing, I think it depends on where you are right now. Irvin was talking earlier, and somebody probably was like, I can't afford to lose $1,000, right? It really depends on your situation as far as where you should go. I would say everybody should seek help. That's in anything, right? How many times are we telling people, stop Googling at your medical issues?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? Like, there's a profession in this for a reason. Something goes wrong with my car, I'm taking it to the mechanic. I get sick, I'm going to the doctor. If you need financial help, you should seek an advisor. So you should seek an advisor. You should see multiple advisors. You should find out who you're going to be comfortable with, how one person approaches it, because there's never just there's never one right way of doing something. So you need to figure out exactly what works best for you. So I would say, in that sense, seek help.
Okay, I love that. That's great tools and gems for the viewers out there. Irvin, I'm going to ask you the same question. Could you please just highlight some of the things you invested in?
Yeah, and just like he said, is literally education. That's the number one thing. Is like, I tell myself, yo, if you're complacent, you're not. I tell myself I'm not good enough to stay the same. You're not at a level where you could say, hey, I'm good. I don't gotta do anything. I could chill now because I'm that good. No, not even remotely. And investing in really people, like the people around me, that's really, we're doing some stuff. I haven't announced it yet. So we're working on some stuff that, involves people, and it's investing in those people, seeing the potential before a lot of them even see it in themselves, and saying, hey, yo, you have so much potential, maybe even greater than me, and that's when you see that. I would feel like it's an injustice for me to see someone have so much potential and not tell them because you feel threatened that they might outdo you. No, if you see that someone, eventually they might recognize it on their own. But if I have the opportunity to let someone know, hey, I want to invest in you, my time, energy, money, I'm going to do that because I see that you have potential. That's what I'm going to do. And that's really throughout this pandemic. Number one is education for myself as well. Like, that was one of the main things that I did. Spend a lot of time reading. I love to read as it is, but I was reading like no other. I was trying to read like two or three books a week, like just reading and then going through over those books again the next week and the next week until like that information is well, I understand it, not just, being able to quote it, but understand what that information means. How is it usable? And that's what I say too. I'm like, I'm not going to read a book. Don't read books if you're not going to apply. It's like, what's the purpose of reading the book? Just go out there and do random stuff. If that's what you're going to do, maybe something will hit. But that's one thing I spent. I actually deleted canceled my Netflix account, and then I subscribed for Audible. And, anytime I'm driving, it's like my university on wheels. I'm listening to audiobook, applying exactly what I learned from a chapter, hopefully like that same day or the next day. So that's really been the main thing, like education, stock market, business ventures, and people. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the stock market. Like, you don't have to name specific stocks or anything like that.
I don't mind, but
yeah. But like, what made you want to jump in?
Well, it's like people would from time. I think like 3 years ago, I heard or 2 years ago or something like that. Hey man, check out Robinhood. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Robinhood. Yeah, Robinhood. And it's only when the pandemic hit and I'm kind of like, oh, wow, all the other stuff I was working on are kind of at a standstill. People are talking about the stock market right now. Everything is at a discount. They're like, oh, this was in 2008. You know, people were getting filthy rich, and that caught my attention. I'm like, oh, is this what's going on right now? Okay, let me go in there and see what's going on. So I started with like $100 because I'm just like, I don't know what this is. I don't trust,
Start. Just start.
Once you put that initial set of money in, it kind of like forces you, okay, I have $100 in there. Let me at least educate myself on what is happening while that $100 is in there. Oh, if you just put it in there, nothing's happening. Okay, I have to buy a stock for there to potentially be a gain. Okay, let me look into a single stock that Apple, I can't afford that. That people are saying that's the best stock to invest in, and it's $300, $400. I don't have money to invest in that. So it was really like trial and error. Okay, I have $100 in there. That's the first step. Now let me find what I can invest in, learn about it, learn about, technical analysis, candlesticks, what's shorting a call, what's all this stuff. And, reading and educating myself about what's going on there. And, not like every day now I do, or not every day, like I try and follow a strategy that I put together, like have a risk analysis, because I learned it is so easy to lose money when you're trading options. It's like, even now, I mean, I do consistently make profit, but even now I'm still kind of like, I'm scarred from my initial losses. Like I lost, I don't even want to say how much money I lost, trying to figure it out. And, it's just because like, I kind of got like, you see money go up and you're like, oh, and you get greedy and you try and ride it out and you lose all your money, So it's really about, learning what companies would you actually work with. And sometimes it's not even about that. It's really just understanding, like having an actual understanding of how the stock market works, how stocks work individually, and knowing that, there might be a black swan event where you lose all your money. Is not likely, but is it possible? Absolutely. But it's about educating yourself and knowing, what risks are involved and weighing those options.
Yeah, that's what I took from what you just said, education and experience. So the education allows you, when you experience it, to not be blind.
Yeah, you're like, I know what happened.
Exactly. So the education is a big part of it. And then actually going, like Dr. Kellen said, and putting that first $100 in.
Yes. And I'm not a financial advisor. I always hear people say on the videos, so don't take my advice. I'm just giving you my advice.
That's a good disclaimer. To piggyback off that disclaimer, right? Part of it, going back to what I said earlier, it's about finding what's comfortable for you.
Yes.
The approach that I'm used to dealing with is, people should definitely fool around in the stock market, but to everything you just said, that approach should be, hey, this is my funny money. If I lose it, I'm going to be absolutely upset, but it's not going to okay.
Exactly.
The other part of that strategy is, okay, what am I doing that's holistic? How am I looking at my entire financial picture to get where I want to go, which is more of a long-term goal?
Exactly. 100%.
Long term.
100%.
5 times. Talk to us. Any investments?
I like that the concept of education was talked about without the discussion of a degree. A lot of times people have to connect those things, which is unnecessary. Enriching yourselves intellectually is the education that you're giving yourself. So when people have this mentality that when you say that you're being educated or you're going to become educated or seeking education, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're seeking a degree. You're not in a degree pattern. So I appreciate that aspect of things. And because I work as a teacher, I have a state pension. We're the New York, teachers retirement system. So that's kind of already fixed. And then I have a 403B, which is kind of like a 401k, but for the public employees, where money comes out of our check and it goes into an account and that sort of thing. And it kind of works, it's kind of automatic. Now, you can choose how you're going to go about that, depending upon who you want to go with in terms of the fees that are going to be. I really wished I would have earlier in the game really invested time into really looking at those fees and really understanding who you're allowing to do this, because we always have people coming in there selling their services. But for the most part, my investments kind of work kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And I started wanting to kind of start taking little pieces of money, and kind of like dabbling in there. Something I'm still thinking about because of the, responsibilities and bills that we have. Is just like wife in school, getting her master's, 2 boys, these Long Island taxes. I'm like, yeah, when I get a couple extra dollars, I'll start endeavoring into that. But what I did do during this time period, outside of investing time with my family and cooking, I was cooking, but I was feeding everybody. I was actually working out. So as everybody was eating, I was just out. I was in the basement, getting, losing fat and getting brolic. So I used the time to say, either people are going to come out of COVID looking like a Pillsbury Doughboy, or they're going to come out looking like the Hulk. And I'd rather come out looking like the latter instead of extra chunky. So that was my goal during this whole time. Like when I was going super hard, like I had somewhere to be. And that was kind of just me, like using that time almost therapeutically as well. You know what I mean? Needing some me time, getting up at the crack of dawn, just down there by myself, going hard. And that was kind of me, you know what I mean? That was the kind of time that I invested, just kind of like research. Aaron, how you going to do this? What kind of diet you going to have? What do you want out of this? How do you want your body to look? That sort of thing. I'm getting near to Divine's age bracket. And what I don't want to be falling apart. By the time I'm his age, I don't want to be, looking crazy. I want to maintain my youth. So
True.
Black don't crack unless you crack it, and I don't want to be a part of that. So my goal was to really get myself into a decent shape. And I'm almost there. I'm not where I need to be. By the time I'm 40, I will be completely shredded out, but I'm getting there.
Nah, dude, you look far from there, bro. I think you're closer than you think you are. But I think that's great. Like you said, this pandemic, you're going to come out of it soft. You're going to come out of it hard. And that's from your body. That's from your mind. That's financially, that's spiritually, right? So spending that time to work on your body is great. Fitness professionals and health professionals like Irvin and myself, we're, the people who come out soft, like that's our market, right? That's who not to say that we want that for anyone, but
they're there.
That's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to be prepared and invest and do things that we need to do so that when these people are ready for our help, we're ready. To help them. So Divine, talk to us a little bit about, some of the investments you made and how the pandemic might have shifted your thinking on where to invest.
First of all, I've maintained my youth. So
I didn't say anything. I'm saying when I get the deacon streak, well, I won't get it because I ain't got no hair. But when I'm graying everywhere like you, I want to make sure that I'm not falling apart. I didn't say you were falling apart.
Yeah, no, you look good, man. You look good for 50.
You're good. Like that's really awesome. Like you really 65. You're really good for that. That's dope.
So I've invested my time more balanced. So I coached college basketball for a long time. And when they shut down LIU Post, the Division II basketball or athletic program, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do because I've always coached basketball. So I got, more involved with my daughter with basketball. I started a 4th grade girls basketball team and got some pretty good players on that team. And I've been able to be a better influence on my children, being able to be home more, working from home. So that's another investment that I've made. And I've made an investment into the perspectives of Black men during COVID. Mm-hmm. So, Kellen and I, we spoke, and one of the things we said was, wow, what's going on in the world right now with COVID and everything being shut down. But we also had goals of what we wanted to get accomplished. And our study group was one of the things we wanted to get accomplished. And then
got it done.
Then Kellen mentioned to me about us getting in here and at Fit Club and starting the Perspectives of Black Men, which we didn't have a title for at that time. But you know what? We piloted. We came in here.
That pilot is raw, too.
That pilot is raw.
It was. Yes.
Pull up on diverse skill training. We had masks on and everything. I'm in a white beater.
N95 mask, like on my face, like that.
So,
but we did that too. We're doing. The point of the matter is get out and do.
Just
Get out
do
and do, right? I want to share.
And can I just say one more thing? Invest in your relationships and friendships too. I keep saying that I want to get like Kellen obviously is a super professional in this realm, right? Physical therapy, physical fitness. And here it is. I've always had low back issues. I don't know, my core is, I've always had to find a balance. And when I was in my best shape, I found that balance. And then when there's an imbalance, I always have low back issues. And right now, I look like a monster, but like my lower back right now, if somebody kicked me in my lower back, I'm done, right? So I keep saying to myself, I gotta get to Kellen's, Dr. Scandalberry's office earlier when it's time when I'm able to come out there, when my wife's program is over, or when I start coming into the studio. I'll get there early enough to actually get treatment. Bring my medical card, my information, my insurance information, and not have my friend do me a solid, but him get paid because he deserves it and he's worth it. And then I get tip top, the treatment. So we both win because I get the best treatment and then he gets his money for it. So that's what I have to be more true to that as well. I've been saying it for a long time, but we always leave at a certain time whenever we were coming into the city, and we will get there just in time to do whatever we need to do. But I have to invest I have to really try to figure out how I'm going to do it, right? Be a little bit more thoughtful of investing the time and the resources into a friend. So I can it's mutual. It's reciprocity.
That's a great point.
And I just want to add really quick that to you guys' point, investing in your health is important. We can sit here and talk about what we're investing in stock market and all this. None of that matters if you're not investing in your health. You're not going to be around to enjoy it.
That's a fact.
I agree. And the pandemic should make people focus a little bit more on their health. And I think it has, honestly.
I'm going to tell you it has because our membership, we have a membership program. Man, that I'm like COVID money. That's what happened. Like people are like, oh, gyms are closed. That literally made our membership explode. So where there is opportunity, even where it looks like there's chaos. Oh no, there's opportunity. I see the next thing is long-term investments. That's the long-term investment is like where people are look at all these major companies that went bankrupt and shut down. They say survival of the fittest. They should be fit enough, as far as like financially to stick around. No, if you're not adapting with the time, especially the more time that goes by where a pandemic or something crazy doesn't happen, the more adapted they become to the normalcy of how life is. And they're like, oh, this is how we make our money. And then when everything shuts down, it's like, oh, how do we pivot out of this? So for a lot of new entrepreneurs, newcomers, new business owners, they are booming right now because it's like, hey, this is our time. We don't really have a structure. We're winging it. Let's find opportunity where it's being presented, which COVID had presented countless opportunities, for people to leverage a lot of things, not just financially, a lot of things.
I think
it's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that because during this time, I have a lot of equipment and I acquired some over the when we were getting locked down. When I saw the writing on the wall, I was like, I ain't going to nobody's gym and they ain't gonna be open. And so I got some equipment and I was like, if the boss, aka my wife, wasn't so strict with this no visitor policy, I had literally had a coworker like, yo, I'll pay you to come to your basement gym. Like I really could have had people going through the back to the, coming in at different time periods and charge them because they were fiending. And if that is your lane, goodness, you're killed this time.
I agree. And I think that's also a perfect segue to doing things differently. So I'm going to hold up a few items in front of the camera. I'm going to save this guy for last. So these are basketball cards, like rookie cards, right? So throughout the pandemic, the rookie card and just the card game in general has like really blown up. So right here's Tim Duncan, Topps Chrome. Here's a Luka Doncic, if you guys can't see those. And then I have one of these guys, RIP, again, we mentioned him earlier, the great Kobe Bean Bryant, one of his rookie cards here as well. So throughout the pandemic, this was like my personal hobby, and this is where I really got my release. And honestly, I really look at this as long-term investing. This Luka Doncic card I bought back in February for, less than I'll tell you guys straight up, $222 is what I spent for this Luka Doncic card, right? Right now on eBay, if you look at the last purchased card, like actually purchased transaction card of Luka Doncic, it's $1,350. Before the season was up, it was around $2,000, right? So when you talk about thinking a new way, not being and doing what people did in the past. Oh, I gotta invest in bonds, or I gotta invest in the stock market, or it's gotta be real estate.
Yep.
There's multiple lanes that you can invest in and earn money. Again, I really feel, it's very unfortunate what happened to Kobe, but after his passing, like his cards have skyrocketed through the roof. Tim Duncan, same thing. One of the second best power forward maybe of all time.
You can
right?
make a case for him being the best power forward of all time.
If you track where these cards have gone over the last 8 months, 700% profit. 700% profit. There's not one thing in life that you can invest in and get a 700% return and be upset about.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a fact.
There's nothing. So like, you don't have to, and I say that to say this, like, you don't have to be, you don't have to know everything about the stock market.
Mhm.
You don't have to know everything about bonds. You don't have to know everything about real estate. You have to see where the trend is. And if you can get into a certain lane before it becomes mainstream, you can earn and make a significant amount of money.
So reinvesting back into yourself when you make money as opposed to spending
Oh yeah.
is a big factor. And then diversifying your portfolio, because if there is a black swan event, you want to be able to withstand the loss.
And sometimes the black swan event could be in your favor. It's like, hey, I was prepared for this. Look at everybody doing it that way. I was prepared. This is what I was waiting for, the black swan to happen for me to come out and make my whatever. So it's not just money, whatever it is.
So it's not
impact.
impact. So it's not just, I'm going to go and invest my money in the stock market, or I'm going to invest my money in life insurance, or I'm going to invest my time with my wife and my kids. It's creating the proper balance and diversification so that you're prepared for any situation that occurs in your life. So my long-term investment is that my wife and I have created a good income through our professions, that we're doing a great job of preparing our children to deal with life, because mom and dad will not always be here, that we have life insurance in place because we're certain to die, and that we're teaching our children to do some of those same things, that we've invested our money in real estate, and that we're going to be able to live very comfortably in retirement, where our children can continue to live their lives the way they choose, not because we need their help.
I think what you said about bringing in your children, I think it's very important for the adults who have children to educate them on some of this, right? Like, our kids need to understand the power of the dollar and what a dollar can do for them if used properly. Like, money is a tool. That's it.
Yep.
Right. That is all money is.
Leverage.
It's a tool. Exactly. And it means to an end. And if you can use that in your favor, then you win. Then you win. And especially in our community, we need to do, and I think we're doing a great example of leading by example as the, men in our perspective, but definitely want to make sure that we're educating the youth on how to make their money work for them. Buying Gucci and Louis, like, what did Gucci and Louis ever do for you? Unless you're trying to resell. If you buy
have
it
an
and
objective,
resell
it's
it,
like, what is the intention?
Exactly.
What's your
Intentionality.
intention?
Exactly. What's your intention?
And I'm glad you said that when my wife, she used to be in corporate, she used to get these bonuses. She said, Aaron, after I paid off her first set of college loans, she said, after I did that, when I got these bonuses, I'd be getting bags and shoes. That was my lane back in the day. She said, I feel so stupid, like, she said, because I was thinking, I was like, yeah, you graduate, when you get your master's, when you're done, I'm gonna get you some Louboutins or whatever when you walk across that stage. She said, not if my credit ain't perfect, and if our bank account ain't at a certain level. And I was just like, whoa. And I was just playing anyway, because I knew her mentality shift. But I used to buy her bags back in the day when we first met. I'm like, that's how she rolls. So when we were together, I was just getting her bags and diamonds. And it's like, when I look back at it, I'm like, how many thousands of dollars did I spend before we were married on bags and diamonds? And these folks don't give a damn about us in our community. I'm like, I felt so stupid. You know, I felt good about being able to do it at the time, but I feel so stupid in what that could have meant in terms of if I would have invested those thousands of dollars 10 years ago, what it could be right now. And so she immediately said, if we don't have our bank account at a certain number, and if my credit ain't perfect and my debt ain't paid off, then we ain't doing that. I was like, all right, I was just playing, but all right, cool. You know, like she was on it. And that's so important that we have the mindset of, I always tell Black people, when I want to be very explicit about where we need to move, is to be psychologically, financially, all right, psychologically fit, financially fit, and sound. And we have to really, really think about our physical fitness, but also our mental health and wellness, right? So that when I say psychologically, I'm thinking about mental health, I'm thinking about therapy, I'm thinking about a lot of things that we neglect in our community. And it becomes super important that we start focusing on those things and maintain consistency and growing our capacity or understanding of where we are mentally at a particular point. We're getting traumatized and re-traumatized with us getting killed in the street and no one caring or rationalizing our death. We have to really figure out how we're going to engage psychologically in the space as well.
I agree.
I just want to add, as far as the long-term investing goes, you guys said something I just want to briefly touch upon. Right, to Dr. Johnson's point about buying the shoes, I was actually just having a conversation earlier with an elderly lady talking about how she's been trying to tell her son this, you know, just buying these sneakers, those sneakers. You got to start preparing yourself for the day I'm not going to be here. And coincidentally, my friend actually posted something today. I forget the exact quote, but it was about shoes. And the gist of it was saying, imagine that you worked and you're making $20 an hour, whatever the case may be. You go buy these shoes for $150. Well, you just traded your time. It's
literally what.
Yeah. So how would you feel if after you
Here's
worked
my
those
time.
hours, your job came to you and said, "Here are these shoes," right? So
yeah, not the money.
Exactly.
He's like, here's
so
these
if you're gonna be
shoes.
upset about that, why not take that money and do something else with it? I believe like we're all creative. Like Kellen, you was saying, you started to invest in these cars, and it's about how this Black Swan event is going to prepare you for an opportunity or how you're going to respond to it. I feel that what makes us unique, and I say us being Black and minorities, is the fact that we've always had to be creative, whether it's because we were dealing with adversity or something as simple as, oh, my mom can't afford me to get that, so I'm gonna be over here creating games that I'm gonna play. We've always, in every instance, had to be creative. So take that same creativity and apply it to something that's gonna benefit you to get you where you want to go, right? I know too many people that's like, that boy be smart if he just applied himself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's taking that creativity, taking what's within you, it's within every single one of us, and apply it properly. It's no good to have all this knowledge if we're not going to apply it.
Yeah, and I think one of the major problems is we, as like Black people, lack awareness. You know, it's like you might. The problem is evident, but it's like you're not aware of it. And you know, me being, I'm 26, and I still feel like I started way too late. I mean, I say it all the time, and you're like, come on, Irv. And I really do believe that.
Whoa. Hold on a second.
You thought he was older, right?
How old are you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm 26.
Exactly.
I'm 27.
And you're 27? Oh, for real?
Like,
Oh, yeah.
when you hear him speak, he doesn't speak and carry himself like he's that young.
And I'm gonna grab my notebook right here.
Really attracted me to this dude. I'm like, you're how young? I put it on the floor.
Okay, because I want to show you guys.
Yeah, go
One
ahead,
second.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get a particular more mature mindset as a young person. You start investing. I always tell my students that you start investing at 18 when you get a little piece of job. Put $50 away, you know, every so often, and just try to be consistent and forget about it. You know what I mean? Budget yourself. Start early. You never know, that money can mean so much more a little bit later on. Because sometimes we do start too late.
And compound investing, compound interest is a hell of a thing, and it really works in your favor when you start early.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like what you said, like at 18, even though I kind of knew what I wanted to do, I was just like, okay, I need to keep saving money to buy clothes. Like that was my budget. My budget was like, I'm going to save money to buy clothes. Back in like, I always knew I wanted to run business, right? Back in September 2011, that's about, look at that. I mean,
It says it right on the top of this
right
screen
here.
for all the viewers.
Yeah, it says
Sunday,
the date.
September 25th, 2011.
And I would just write down like ideas. These are 2 types of market research. I'm like, I know. One thing is I didn't do well in school because I didn't like
2011. How old are you? I think this is
I'm
very important for the people to understand.
So I'm 26, 2011,
9 years
2020.
ago.
Yeah, 9 years ago. Yes. Wow.
17?
Wow. Yeah.
So
Sheesh.
the mind of a 16, 17-year-old, right? So we have a lot of young people watching this show talking about, oh, like maybe I can't relate to these guys. No, you can relate. This is a 16, 17-year-old right here.
And I started a computer cafe when I was in Grenada. So I grew up in Asia. I spent almost 11 years there. And from there, I moved back here for 10 months. My parents, I used to be very easily influenced by, you know, the less desirable party. So, you know, I would get into a lot of trouble and whatnot. And they're like, yeah, you're not going to stay here. We're going to Grenada. You're coming with us. And I'm like, if you guys bring me to Grenada, you're going to have to send me back, because I'm going to give even more trouble. But when I got down there, you know, it's true. I'm like, I want to get out of here. So I'm going to find a way to make my own money. So you guys can't tell me anything. I mean, I'm not 18 yet, but I'm still saying that I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to buy a ticket and leave, you know? So like at that, it was kind of through that where I'm like, I'm going to do my own thing. If I'm making my own money, how are you going to tell me I can't buy a plane ticket and fly back to New York? You know, given I didn't do that, but I started at my school in Grenada, they had what's called SBA. So it's a lot of paper. You got to print out, at the end of the year, you have to print out all these projects and whatnot. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of printers at the school. So my dad came down with the printer and I started charging people, hey, you want to print? I'll charge you a little, I'll charge you a little less. And that's what I started doing. I was making a killing, you know, doing that. And that's when I realized, I can make money when there's a demand. And from there, it's just like, it's always been, you know, a passion. It's always just like learning how to figure out a problem. That's really what it came down to. So back then, even though I was given trouble and everything, I still knew this was 2011. This is the date, 2011. And I have a whole bunch of other books like this, you know, where I just would write down my ideas. It's just creating awareness. And I had that awareness, even though it was kind of like something I put on the back burner. The fact that the awareness was there, that's what allowed me.
That way, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's prepared you tremendously for this time.
I just wanted to add, it's funny, you said you sound like printing paper. I remember in the 6th grade, I would sell my school supplies. My mom would just buy a bin full of school supplies for the year, so we never had to go to the store again. I used to always be in the basement just getting school supplies, and I sell them to kids in school. Oh, you needed a folder so you don't lose no points? Like, a quarter. Like, I was selling school supplies. Same thing. I realized, like, oh, this is a demand. I see people, they used to go to the teacher and ask for a school supply. I'm like, it started off as like kindness. Like, I'm like, oh, I got an extra pen. Here you go. And after a while, I'm like, this just kept happening. I was like, I was gonna keep giving this stuff away. I'm gonna start charging you for it. And sure enough, that's what I did. I
got in trouble for selling candy at middle school. I would buy now laters, I would buy all of them and 10 cents a pack, the little ones, and I would sell them for a quarter. Me and my friend, we were making a killing. I mean, every day people would be lining up trying to get now laters, and we got called into the office and we were told not to do it anymore. We would get in trouble, and we're like, why can't we sell candy?
Same thing. That's what happened. Yep. Wow. Same thing. The office, hey, you can't sell that in here. You're messing with our money.
I can see that maybe in Grenada, but like, this is America.
Yeah,
I know. Capitalistic society. Like, you should be applauded for that, Dr. Johnson. Like,
we were making a killing. Because we bought we would go in the store, buy every single pack of now laters, the little 10-cent pack, and sell them for a quarter, and people would be lining up with their lunch money getting candy from us. Crazy.
Nice profit margin.
Yeah, I like that. All right, we're gonna start a new segment when this is gonna be an educational segment. So this is On the Shelf with Dr. J.
Go ahead.
And this is just a segment where we want to really provide even more value than we feel like we are to our audience, right? And we want to give you guys with things that you can take after listening to each episode. So Dr. Johnson is going to eloquently provide us with some reading, some material that we can ingest and put into our brain so that, again, we talked about investing in our education so that we can start doing that and leading by example tonight. So Dr. Johnson, please, can you go through our first on the shelf segment?
So we got a book right here called, and we could probably end up actually getting some art, some actual photo or pic off of online if we're going to post it for a book called Black Labor, White Wealth. And it's The Search for Power and Economic Justice by Dr. Claude Anderson. And it really breaks down, a lot of Black, especially Black historians or educators really try to figure out why we're in the position that we're in, right? We understand that our money was stolen from us, our wealth was stolen from us over generations, but he really seeks to find how our labor really created white wealth and why we continue to languish economically. And he's always been fighting for reparations. That's been his thing forever, Dr. Claude Anderson. And it really just underscores, really kind of like highlights what it's going to take for us to get economic justice here. And I think that because this was an investments segment, we need to really understand money a little bit more profoundly as Black people. We're always taught to make it. We're always taught to, we got to just kind of make it, make ends meet. Or we don't really talk about investment. Well, we're starting to do that a lot more now, but that's not a tremendous thing it hasn't been historically a tremendous thing in our community because we were constantly trying to, make ends meet. And so now I believe a lot of people are more interested in wealth building. And Divine said something that I want to highlight before we get out of here. He said, my wife and I got life insurance. Black people are so super underinsured. And I believe these gentlemen here sell insurance. I know Divine does. Do you, Mr. McGann?
He does not. He does not.
Yeah. Competition.
And I know they're not soliciting themselves on this program, but I'm just saying, if you are a Black person and you do not have life insurance and you have children, you're really, first of all, you're gypping them, you're playing yourself. If something was to tragically happen to you, God forbid, they would be taken care of. And generational wealth that white people have earned over time after stealing from us, they also, and also buying homes and redlining us and pushing us into renting situations, while they were purchasing homes and creating generational wealth, they also purchased life insurance. And they also given it to their kids. It will take us 236 years to catch up to white wealth. We have like 1/10 of their wealth. So it's important that we figure out how we're going to go about growing our wealth. And this book kind of gives you a little bit more insight into where our wealth went and how we need to go about getting it.
My children have life insurance. I made sure that Dr. Kelling got life insurance for his children.
It's important. We have life insurance. Both of me and Portia have life insurance. Our children, we had life insurance for our children when they were born. I don't know if I haven't even looked at that paperwork forever. It's in my box of stuff that I rarely look at, but it's accessible for our kids or whoever, just in case something went down. But like, we got to stop playing ourselves. My wife said something that she heard that I believe is super important too. If Black people had life insurance, because I think she heard this during the George Floyd moment. Every time a race soldier tries to take us out, and an insurance company has to pay out that sum of money, they're gonna stop and say, "Wait a minute, police unions, we're gonna start taking y'all to task because y'all taking Black people out, and it's hemorrhaging money from our companies." And if we started to play that money game with them, I guarantee you that insurance finance industry will start leaning on these white supremacists a little bit more, and things would change a little bit.
You start impacting those with the power, with the money. Now they're going to want to see things change. Like you said, it's impacting them. And I just want to add, I'm sorry, I could go on about this all day, but the fact that all you gentlemen on here sharing, hey, this is what I'm doing, to me, it's a form of being vulnerable, feeling comfortable enough to have that conversation with the public, let alone that's something that we're not doing in our community with each other. What good is it if you're doing all this? You start doing that preparation for yourself, but you're not sharing that information, at least what should be shared with the next in line, because then it's just, the buck just going to stop with you. So you did all this work for what reason? So like Devon said, his children has life insurance. Like he's having the conversations with them to be prepared for that next step in life. So we have to be able, only way we're going to advance it is sharing knowledge, right? There's no way for any of us to know it all, but we have to share what's going on in our world so we can build off of each other's experiences.
Yeah, and that's a fact. And you, when it comes down to, you know, like you were saying, if the amount of Black people that don't have, you know, life insurance, if, you know, the police union, like you were saying, if they know there's more to lose by doing that, it has to be that contrast. Like there's more to lose than there is to gain by what's happening, you know, and that's the only way. Yeah, and that's the only way it's going to make sense. It's like, wow, we're losing way more than, you know, the upside. Once again, like we said earlier, the asymmetrical outcome is like there's way more loss when you have all these Black people who have life insurance. Like, oh, that's a lot. But at this juncture, it's like, oh, that's it. You know, that's where it ends. Is, you know, the die, you protest, boom, that's it. Is going to blow over eventually. And that's where it ends. There's no real repercussions.
And something to think about as well. Black people have been impacted the most with this COVID situation. Black people dying. So them dying and them having insurance and then helping pay, you know, the insurance payouts to their kids, people will be a little bit more wanting to improve our health and wellness. We have some of the worst, you know, health and wellness in the country. That's why we're dying, because our underlying issues. So think about that. Think about if we, you know, people will be more interested institutionally because of all those payouts that will go to Black families for them dying from COVID. People wouldn't be so flippant about let's reopen so that we can satisfy the narcissistic white supremacist in the White House. You know, like they'd be like, whoa, hold on now. You know, insurance companies be paying out the wazoo. So something to think about. We got a lot to think about, but it's important. Get yourself some damn insurance. Go to Divine or Charles.
Amen. Come to both of us because we work together no matter what. We're brothers for life.
That's it. And as we close, I want to leave with this statement here as well. And it's about really like how risk adverse are you, right? Like life, like Irvin said, we're going to be challenged in life, right? And risk is a part of life. When you invest, there's a risk that you can lose it all. But what we want to do is we want to try to mitigate that risk as much as possible. And how do we do that? By diversifying ourselves, investing in our time, investing in the people that we spend our time with, investing in our bodies, investing our money. So tonight, I really hope people pull from this episode that investment is not just a monetary thing. It is actually investing your energy, investing who you spend your time with. Like mitigate your risk by diversifying what you do with your life and where you spend your time, and focus and have a goal. Be intentional. Don't just buy things to buy things. Buy things because you want to get a return sometimes as well, right? I think that's very important. Have these conversations with your kids about the power of investing in. If you save and put your money even in an online bank that has 1% interest, as opposed to just putting it in a checking account that has 0.02% interest, right? That's easy lessons that you can show a kid. That's simple math that you can show a kid as young as, you know, middle school, in elementary school, that they can understand that, hey, if I put my money here, it earns more. If I put my money here, it earns less.
Saving won't get you rich.
It's a very simple concept. And I just want to implore our community, and part of why we did this episode tonight was to really educate and push this information out there to you guys.
Set realistic goals as well. If you're 3,000 pounds, you're not going to lose 100 pounds after the first week of you attempting to do one push-up. We have to do better with being consistent towards the realistic goal that we set. Don't be inconsistent towards an unrealistic goal. I knew I had to lose 50 plus pounds. That was going to take a little bit, but I knew what I had to do to get there. I didn't think that I was going to get all the fat off after the first 2 weeks of lifting weights, like and doing cardio. Like, we got to be realistic and we got to be consistent
and have a plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish, right?
I always refer to basketball, right? If you want to win a championship, that's the ultimate goal. Okay, so I work backwards. How do I have whatever my life is right now, and equating it to winning a championship, I got to work backwards. Okay, if I want to win a championship, what I got to do? I got to win games. In order to win games, I got to win practices. In order to win practices, I got to work on myself first. So working backwards helps you with those small, realistic goals to ultimately get to where you're really trying to go.
Love it. Tons of gems, tons of knowledge bombs dropped today during today's episode. Once again, this is the Perspectives of Black Men. This is episode 13, where we covered investing. You guys, we thank you so much for listening to us. Drop a comment below. We'll make sure that we put the book and the title of the book in the comment section underneath for you guys. Again, On the Shelf with Dr. J. Irvin, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Always
Charles,
a pleasure.
thank you so much for joining us and spreading your knowledge and your education and your experience and your energy with the people. Again, from the Perspectives of Black Men, we want to thank you all for subscribing and watching. Share this message with as many people as possible. You can find us on YouTube at the Perspectives of Black Men. Please subscribe and like our YouTube videos. We also will be soon on Spotify as well as Amazon for our podcast, The Perspectives of Black Men, as well.
Word.
I have one last thing to say to Irvin. First of all, thank you with all
Always a
sincerity
pleasure.
for driving up from Pennsylvania to come and be a part of the Perspectives of Black Men.
It's the energy.
But I did notice that you said you listen to audio books
Oh yeah,
on your way to and from. I have something for you to listen to.
I'm with it, man.
The Perspectives of Black Men.
There we go.
Thursdays,
There we go.
6:30 p.m.
There we go. There we go. Absolutely.
That's it. Spread
Absolutely.
this knowledge. Again, thank you guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.
Energy. There we go.
Fresh. Bye, Dr. Johnson.
Peace to you, sir.